Hello, gardeners. We're taking a little time out from out in the rain to come in the house and sit down and try to answer some of these questions that we're getting on these videos. Now, number one, let me explain up front, I don't do any emailing. I don't have a website. I only have this YouTube channel. And I'm sorry, you can call my phone. That's the reason I put it on. But you can't email me. I just don't do that. I don't have time. I just don't do Facebook. But anyway, we're going to try to answer some questions this afternoon because this is some questions that's come in comments on the bottom of those pages of those videos. One gentleman asked if he can take cotton burr compost and just topsoil, just dirt out of the ground, or either buy some of that topsoil, not potting soil. Potting soil is looser than topsoil. Topsoil is kind of a fine dirt type material. But when you take cotton burr compost and you add this fine sandy soil with it, it makes it too heavy and it won't wick. It's got to have some air in it also, and when it's fine and coarse, fine and heavy, you can't get any air through it. So it'll sit there and drown your plant. Another gentleman asked if he could use burlap instead of ground cover, covering those pipes in the bottom of those tubs. If you put burlap in water in just about 3 or 4 days or a week, it will be rotted. We had that same incident. Some people ask me, what about wrapping them in t-shirts? Well, that's where we started about 9 years ago. We got the idea that we would try using t-shirts, but it rots in that water, that cotton rots in that water and nothing flat. Less than 30 days, your system has gone to pot. So we don't recommend using any burlap or any cotton. We've got to use something that'll stay in water and not rot. So you just have to find whatever you want to find. If you don't want to use ground cover, find something that will not rot in water. Nylon wouldn't if you could find some nylon, but then that would be expensive. Okay. Now I know some of these guys ask, well, why build these boxes? Why don't you just go buy some of these grow boxes on the computer that's $39.95? And you're welcome to do that. Those are good growing boxes. What we're doing with this channel, we're trying to do more than just one thing, is grow in a wicking box. We're trying to not only build something we're trying to recycle everything we can. Now, I know when I put those videos on about using that 6-inch pipe in the bottom of those containers, we did a wrong thing, I guess, because you can't find that 6-inch pipe except in a 100-foot roll, and not many people want to buy a 100-foot roll. So that's the reason we came back and made some more videos about saving all of your plastic jugs, all of your water bottles, and using those in the bottom of those tubs instead of that pipe, and they'll work just as well. They're a little bit softer. They might bend a little bit or bow a little bit, but they will work in the bottom of them, making a capacity in there to hold water with those jugs. You just have to put some holes at the top and at the bottom so that they will go ahead and let the water go in, and as it uses the water, it let the air come in back behind the water. Some ladies are asking, how often do I water? Well, that's a kind of a loaded question, because if you've got a plant that's just 6 inches tall that you just planted and it's cool spring, it's not going to use much water until it gets hot summer and gets 3 or 4 feet tall. But if you have a plant that's already 5 and 6 foot tall and you're using quite a bit of water on it every day, and it turns hot, it's going to use more water, so you got to water more often. The bigger the plant, the hotter the weather, the more often you water. I will say this. if you're pouring that water down that pipe into that bottom reservoir, it doesn't make any difference if you fill it up every day. It's only going to run out that little that little overflow hole on the side, which is about 5 inches up. So it doesn't make any difference if you're watering on top of the soil all over the pot. Then yes, if you water every day, first thing you know, you'll have so much water pushed down through there, you'll shut all your air off, and that way you can't control the moisture going to your plant because the air can't get up there. You've waterlogged it with water, watering the soil every day. So don't do that. If you're going to water from the top, you've got to wait this water every 4, 5, 6 days, maybe once a week. Okay, a lot of times, a lot of questions, the number one question I guess I should say they ask is, where do you get those red tubs? Well, the reason we use those red tubs is because they're available here in our area from the cattle ranchers. Not only do we get red ones, we get blue ones, we get orange ones, we get black ones, we get green ones. The protein mineral that you buy in those tubs comes from the feed stores. What I would suggest is you go to a feed store somewhere close to you and ask them who has a lot of those mineral tubs where they're feeding, a lot of cattle. Then see if you can't get a hold of them if that's what you want to use. Remember, I've told you that in the previous videos that you don't have to use those mineral tubs. I'm trying to teach you or to get you to use whatever is available in your area. Some places, barrels are really inexpensive. $10 to $12 for a food grade barrel. You can cut that half in two and make you two of the most wonderful food grade barrels you can get. And they'll last you for years, maybe 15, 20 years. Whereas these mineral tubs that we've been showing you, well, it'll last about 3 years. Some people have asked, can that pipe that we put in the bottom be perforated? It can, or it don't have to be. They ask, why don't we wrap the ends of the pipe? And as many as I build, I'd have to keep 3 or 4 people wrapping ends of those pipes to get this all done because we build so many of them. We don't want to wrap 4 ends for every barrel. We'd rather just lay a cloth over it. Some people said, well, what's the benefit of this wicking? Well, we're saving you time, we're saving you money, we're saving you water, and your plant gets the even amount of moisture and food 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without having to be there to feed it every day.
Question. What is the wicking mechanism inside the tub? Is it the cloth, or what is it?
Okay, some of the ladies have asked me, where do I get that wicking cloth? It's not the cloth that we're using for a wick. We're only using that cloth to separate the water and the soil, keep it from getting down in those reservoirs, those pipes that we're using for reservoirs for water. The wicking effect is the soil that's going down into the water, and as it wicks the water up, it comes on up through the soil. So your soil that's down touching the bottom is actually what's doing the wicking, not the cloth. The cloth is used to separate the pipe, the soil, and the water separate. So they ask, well, do I fill it after or before I plant? You can do either one. You can fill that bottom before you plant it until it runs out that overflow hole, or you can wait till after you plant it and you water from the top and get that wet down through the middle there, and then go ahead and fill your rest of your reservoir up with your food and water after you've planted. What size are those tubs, people are asking? Well, those big red metal tubs and the blue tubs are 20 gallon. The little white 5-gallon bucket is a 5-gallon bucket that you get at the stores like McDonald's or Brahms, or you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy them there. But those are 5-gallon. These bigger ones are 20. Now see, if you took a barrel and cut it half in two, Then you've got a 25-gallon barrel. Because that's a 50 to 55-gallon barrel, you cut half in two. Now you got 25-gallon, 27-gallon, something like that.
Will 30-gallon trash cans work?
30-gallon trash cans will work. Now the only problem with that, the height of it. Water will just only wick up so far with gravity pulling down on it. And there's some people ask, can they use taller tubs for the wicking? Well, we have found out somewhere around 24 to 26 inches is about the max you can really wick water up through that soil. So, you know, you take a trash can that's probably 30 to 32 inches tall, you're going to have a hard time wicking that up. I'd rather see you use that trash can as one of those hydroponic cucumber barrels where you just put all water and let the roots grow with the water down in there to suck that thing dry. And there's previous videos on growing cucumbers that I would send you to with those trash cans because they are a little bit tall.
Episode 13.
Episode 13 is where you go back to use the
cucumbers.
To the cucumbers, okay. And that tells you how to put the water in, put the fertilizer in, and grow a cucumber in there. Well, there was one I noticed asking, can they use window screen instead of this ground cover to cover their pipe up with? Yes, you can. The reason they wanted to use that screen is they thought that the roots would go down there and go through that screen better than it would that weed cover. It could be a little easier to go through the screen than the weed cover, or you could use shade cloth, either one, to cover them with if you want your roots to go through that cloth. We don't have any problem with the roots just staying there in that water above the cloth, so either way is fine with us.